I started to dive into, to me, what felt like one of the most underrated elements of this election. I saw some people talking about it. The first person that I heard really frame this was Naval. We just did a podcast. I did a reaction video to him on the Family Teams podcast, but he tweeted back in July, it's the battle of the masculine men and the feminine women versus the masculine women and the feminine men. And I was just like, man, yes, there's a strange amount of truth in that sentiment. I was trying to process the gender divide that erupted during this election. But to me, that's probably one of the most fascinating things about it. One of the things I try to observe was for 200 years, politicians thought the largest binary in the world was between the rich and the poor. But given enough time, any two-party system will begin to organize around a stronger binary, male and female. Naval's way of describing this divide was kind of the more traditional masculine men, feminine women versus the masculine women and the feminine men. So I do think there's, man, a lot to be said for that as well. So I want to like dive a little bit deeper into the kind of gender implications of this. And this is the part that really fascinates me the most because it has so much implications to the way that we think about family. So this election pitched father energy against mother energy. Because the country desired change over empathy, it chose the father. But like in any family, these roles are designed to work together. So that's kind of my first statement was, it was interesting to me how much in Kamala Harris's campaign, there was this mamala like a narrative that got really, like, it got a lot of people excited without realizing how off-putting that would be to people who want more father energy in leadership. And I think the reason why that was invisible to the left was because to them, that's sexist. That to think about leaders in terms of mother and father or masculine and feminine, they see that as sexist and therefore they could play up the mamala narrative, and crank it to a 10 without risking a blowback from anyone but, blatant male misogynists, I guess. That's just a massive blind spot that no, there's these two kinds of energy exist and that people get to choose what kind of energy they think the country needs to be led by. And so you had this sort of hyper masculine kind of energy coming out of the Trump campaign and this hyper feminine energy, at least an attempt at hyper feminine energy coming out of the Harris campaign. So the second tweet I did was, the Trump family is too masculine. Trump has chosen wives who accentuate his masculine characteristics instead of committing to a woman who balances the masculine and the feminine. JD Vance and Ivanka's families represent a better balance. Part of what I want to explore, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, Sid, is I think one thing that people don't really appreciate is that when you get divorced and you're a powerful, rich man, when you get remarried, it's not like it's an equal marriage. Like when you get married when you're really young and you and your husband or you and your wife have very little going for you, and you basically build your family together, build your little empire, your little kingdom together. There's always a sense in which there's a real balance of power that I think is appropriate in the family between the masculine and the feminine, because you both contributed and you both went through the journey together. But what happens if you're, 45 years old and a wealthy, powerful man, and you decide to divorce your wife and then get remarried and have your now wife sign prenuptial agreements? She's really agreeing to something less than a traditional marriage. That's my hypothesis. What she's really doing is she is joining a much more hyper masculine entity than a traditional family would be when you're getting married when you're young, because the reality is she doesn't have as much power as a normal wife would have in that kind of relationship. She already knows that, well, my husband, he's rich, he's powerful, and really I'm making somewhat of an agreement to sort of give up a lot of what might be an equal share of power in the family because I really like his wealth or I like his status, or there's other reasons why a woman might agree to that arrangement. And it's really proven by the fact that she's willing to sign a prenuptial agreement, which says that if we get divorced, then I don't get half because I didn't earn half. Like I and that is sort of a de facto way of saying that whatever you agree to, let's say you agree to 5% in a prenuptial agreement, 5% of the wealth will go to you, no more, no less, or no more than that. Well, you're basically saying, yeah, that's the amount that I'm getting in exchange for getting to be a part of, this man's, amazing masculine empire. And similarly, I think Elon represents that. Elon has built a similar hyper-masculine family by breaking free from the presence of a singular feminine partner in his family. And so what we're seeing is what feels like a really hyper-masculine cabinet, hyper-masculine, um, like the White House and the executive branch of the United States is going to have that feeling. And I don't think this is really being, properly described or understood, and all the implications of that. But yeah, curious what your thoughts are on that, Sid.